Hey everybody. Yesterday I shot a video about my skunk loaches here in my Gourami tank, and today I want to do a little update video. First of all, I'm using a different camera, so I'm able to sit much further away from the tank and you get a much more relaxed view. If you watch that other video, and I will go ahead and attach a card because I'm going to consider this sort of a companion video to that. I was standing right in front of the tank when we started. And of course everybody thinks it's dinner time, and the Loaches, the Gouramis, and everybody was right up front and center. So this gives you a little more of an idea of how chilled out and relaxed this tank can be when everybody's just kind of doing their thing and not a lot of activity going on. You can see my Angelicus Loach there. And if you notice the way it's sort of rocking and drifting, they do that a lot. First-time Loach owners will be very alarmed a lot of times when they come down in the morning, or even they look over during the day, and they will see their Loaches lying as though they're dead. Let me see if I can find one of those clowns. Or there we go. I always call these clowns for some reason. I do have two clown Loaches in here, but these are the skunk Loaches, and these are specifically what I want to talk about. In the video I shot, I mentioned how playful they are, how fun they are, how gregarious they are, etc. But I've had people tell me that they have looked these Loaches up. See, there's my clowns there. And apparently they're getting information that these skunk Loaches are aggressive. You'll notice the tail of my striped Raphael sticking out from his cave. And there's another one of those skunk Loaches. I have 7 of these skunk Loaches in this tank. 1 Angelicus and 2 of these clowns. I also have what I bought as a red-tail Loach, but in this article I'm about to talk about, they listed it as a blue Loach. So my red-tail is also a blue Loach. Now, I started doing some research myself just to look into this whole aggression thing, because I saw some stuff yesterday that did indicate that these Loaches could be aggressive. And I came across an article that was a very good article. I will put a link to the article in the description below. And it is an introduction to Loaches. And as I was reading it, I was really impressed, because you do get a lot of bad information out there. This article starts by saying you get a lot of bad information out there, so they wanted to set the record straight. And everything I read, I agreed 100% with. For as many people that say these Loaches are aggressive towards each other and you should keep them singularly and so on and so forth, that's just not my experience, with very few exceptions, and I'll get into that in a minute if I remember. Loaches are just very, very gregarious animals. They need to be in a group. I've seen plenty of schooling fish that should be in a group, but if they're not, it's not that big a deal. I have a couple of tanks upstairs that have 1 or 2 skirt tetras, and it's a 10-gallon tank, and they hang out and they're fine. They don't need to be in that large group. Loaches are among the animals that actually will die eventually of loneliness if they're not kept in large enough numbers. They really will. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've never seen one actually die, but I've seen them so dejected that they stopped eating and moving, and it was just, you know, they would die if something hadn't been done. These animals need to be kept in groups. They're very, very gregarious animals. They want to be in the company of their own kind. And I have noticed in my personal experience, and again, this is why I don't do species profiles, I'll give you my experience. I don't know what the professionals say. I don't know what all the books say. All I can tell you is what I experience, and that doesn't necessarily always line up with what the books say. So, in my experience, Loaches need company. The only exception is my red-tail Loach that is in the back of this tank, and he always is behind all those that wood and those rocks and everything. Up against that back glass, he has a little cave that he hides in, and he's mean. He does not like any other fish. He's very aggressive. So as I was reading this article, and it was going over all of these details, and it was saying exactly what I'm saying in my experience, these Loaches need to be kept in groups and everything else, it started talking about various species of Loaches, and it started describing them and what you can expect from them. And it just goes over some of the common ones you'll find in the industry. It had the clowns on there, and it had the Angelicus, and of course everybody knows the yo-yo, and just different ones like that. And it actually had my red tail on there, although it called it a blue. And it said that that was a really aggressive loach, and like it'll attack other fish, which it does. And apparently it needs to be in like a 6-foot tank or a 5-foot tank, and it really shouldn't be kept with other fish unless they're really hardy fish. So I thought, okay, well, that pretty much lines up with my experience. That's, I'm going to have to get him out of there one day. He's just not a friendly fish, and I don't want him in this tank eventually. So as I keep reading, I finally get to the skunk loaches, and I say, okay, I'm finally going to get this article's, description of what a skunk loach is. And I was stunned. I mean, it read like the skunk loaches were worse than the red tail. It talked about them like they were little miniature barracudas or something. It talked about how extremely aggressive they were and how they'll fight amongst each other, and the only kind of fish you can keep with them are fast-moving, danios or barbs that are sort of rough and tumble and used to aggressive behavior. You needed a huge tank to keep these in, etc., etc. I really was shocked when I read all of that. So that lines up with what all of the other professionals are saying, but goes 100% completely against my experience. I always recommend the skunk loaches, and apparently the professionals always recommend not getting them because of these aggression issues. I actually spoke to a friend of mine this morning who said that he had commented under the previous video, the video that I'm attached to this one, and said that he'd always liked them, but he never got them because he'd always heard that they were so aggressive. And apparently that's what you'll hear if you look anywhere other than on my videos. So take that with a grain of salt. Again, this is why I don't do species profiles. I don't want you saying, oh, well, he, said it's fine. And then you put them together and you find out that I've got the exception to the rule. I do have a puffer in another tank. I have a brackish tank and I have a figure 8 puffer in it. Now, figure 8s are known to be sort of on the mild end of the aggression scale when it comes to puffers. But even for figure 8, my puffer is really, really mild-mannered. So my skunk loaches apparently are really, really mild-mannered as well. I don't know what it is, but I've had people remark over the years at how chilled out and relaxed all my cats are, and I've always just assumed that part of my personality rubs off on my cats as I'm raising them up from kittens. That just sort of makes sense to me, and I'm a pretty relaxed kind of guy. I can't imagine that translates to fish, but who knows? Maybe I've got some chilled out, relaxed skunk loaches because they're all grooving off my vibe. I don't know. But whatever the books say, my experience has been different with the skunks. No aggression whatsoever. Absolutely wonderful little playful fish. You can see right there, he's swimming around by that gourami. They're also, according to the books, they will nip the fins of any kind of slow-moving, long-finned fish. And I keep 7 of them in my gourami tank. No issues whatsoever. I will see them do the occasional... never really seen my opaline do a nose stand like that. It's kind of interesting. I actually do see my snakeskin do nose stands like that quite frequently. And the snakeskin, who's in the back there, the very large one, she will go down to the bottom and pick food off the bottom and do that completely straight vertical. Her tail's in the air and her nose is straight down. So that's pretty interesting to watch. But they being the skunk loaches, will groom the other fish. I've seen various loaches do that. Even my otos I've seen do that occasionally. Cory cats will do it. And they just sort of cruise over the other fish and they root around underneath their gill flaps. And they're looking for parasites or any loose scales they can eat or anything like that. And my skunk loaches do the exact same thing to the gouramis, and the gouramis actually present themselves to be groomed by the skunk loaches, unless they're not in the mood for it, and then you get a little bit of darting around and dashing around like you're seeing now. But that's what you see with any loach. That's why people buy loaches, because they do that kind of stuff. They're just fun, playful little fish. So once again, I'm going to say this is my experience and my experience only. Do not take this as a species profile. Do not take this as the standard of what to expect when you get skunk loaches. But in my experience, the skunk loaches are fantastic little fish. And we'll get a nice little close-up on my Raphael cat while he's out, because he's a cool cat too. And he makes appearances often enough that he's not a mystery, but he also is reclusive enough that he's always a pleasure to watch when he comes out, because he's not a real super outgoing fish. That's another one I really recommend if you've got a fairly large tank and you got room to fit a pretty meaty, bulky catfish in there. Striped Raphaels, or the spotted Raphaels even, are very good fish to consider. So there's my little amendment to the other video. Hopefully that will give you some more information about them based on my experience rather than based on what books say. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do so. I do videos sort of spur of the moment, hit or miss when I feel like doing them. And there's usually some good stuff in there and you don't want to miss it. So go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Thank you for watching this one. I'd ask you to please like, please share this with all your friends, and by all means comment. I welcome all your comments and we'll certainly try to get back to you if I can. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you real soon.